Good morning, folks. I'm Dan. Little CNC project this morning. I'm working on the little G0602 lathe that we converted to CNC. And when I originally set this lathe up, let me shift this down here, why I had manual on-off, manual forward and reverse, and manual speed control. So this was the nameplate that I engraved up for it before. Tachometer sets up here in this hole. Start, stop, had a forward, reverse, e-stop, and the speed control. Now I've converted it over to a C6 board, so we've got, it's all computer controlled for forward and reverse and speed as well. Everything's computer controlled now, and nothing's manually input on the front. So the speed potentiometer and the forward reverse switch are no longer needed on it. So I'm just getting around today and doing a new nameplate for it. I've got a couple of little, well, I've got one other little electrical issue. I've got it showing a limit switch error or contacting a limit switch. So I'm not sure exactly where that fault is. I've just disconnected the limit switches, and that seems to have corrected the problem, but I'm going to run it a little bit with that. If it doesn't give me any more errors, why then I know it's one of my switches, which is very possible. I played with the switches a little bit, and they acted like they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, but I'm still getting that error message. So that's kind of what prompted all of this. I had to do some work on it anyway. So what I've done is I've gone through, I've already pulled the front cover off so I could take dimensions off of it again and redimension it in Fusion. When I originally CNC'd this out or engraved this on the mill, I was just getting started using the CNC and really didn't know what I'm doing, even less than I know now. So I've modified the code quite a bit. In Fusion 360, I've eliminated this forward reverse switch and the speed switch, moved the tachometer over so it's centered up, and made the holes the correct size for here. The prints I had in Fusion, evidently I probably manually drilled these at that time. But anyway, I modeled that all up, and I'm going to manually drill the mounting hole. The people that built it just managed to get the plate screwed on there, and the dimensions between the holes is not really exact. So I've already cut me a piece of 40 thousandths aluminum for this. I'm going to manually drill these holes in the drill press and just clamp it together, get those down. That'll also give me a place to mount the plate onto the mill table. So I went ahead, pulled the old switches and potentiometers out, and I pulled the wiring out. So we've eliminated that wiring. Okay, I'll go ahead and trim the outside of this so it's a little neater, and then we'll mount it up on a board and mount it in the mill. Okay, once again, setup on this is not that critical. This is just a piece of scrap melamine I had. I use quite a bit of this stuff for fixtures just like this. It's for one-off things like this, it's plenty secure. It does a pretty good job, and it does all it needs to do. So there's no sense in getting too excited about, you know, MDF's not the best thing in the world for a fixture, but for applications like this it'll work just fine. There, we've got pretty good alignment. Zeroed out, we should be able to come down here and use this as a touch off. gave myself extra clearance on this, so it's not going to be that critical. Okay. I think I'm happy with that. Quite a few little issues I have as I go along. I was really surprised. I tend to run this real conservatively because, in all honesty, I don't trust it. It gives me little glitches. I think it's more me than anything else. But where it started to dive through here, these three holes were all set up in the same string. They were all bored the same. These two should have been exactly the same. This is an 875 diameter. These were both 1-inch diameter holes. This one, for whatever reason, started to plunge, and the numbers were way off as I watched the control panel. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on. And I kind of manually made an adjustment, and it finished cutting it, and then it went back and it cut fine there. Of course, I'd already made an adjustment here, so I don't know if it's something I did. It's probably something I did, but I don't always know exactly what's going on with it, so I don't quite trust this machine, so I tend to be very conservative with it. Anyway, there it is. Don't know how well we can see it. These are just the marks that I had where the other one was, so I could index the machine up. Well, here's what we started out with, and here's what we ended up with. Engrave start, e-stop, and stop. I had to open up the corners, had to deburr everything a little bit, and we can go ahead and start putting it back together. And our tachometer will snap right into place just like that. I think before we actually tighten these down all the way, we'll go ahead and power it up. Make sure our wiring's right, which I'm sure it is, but give the computer a minute to come up. Quite a difference there. What's going on here? There we are. Everything's doing what it's supposed to. I want to play with it a little bit, see if I can figure out what our limit switch error is. Anyway, we got a new front cover on it, which was the main purpose of this little video this morning. And if you've lasted this long, I thank you for taking the time to watch this. And if you've got any comments, suggestions, why, leave them in the comment section for me below.